Anyone want to tell us about, you want to tell us? Come on. What is Bhakti?
Loving devotional service to God.
Yeah, devotional service to God. Yeah, Bhakti is love for God, devotion, and devotional service. So Bhakti is also how we develop our love for Krishna. Devotional service is also how we develop our love for Krishna and also show our love. So Bhakti is also called the Yoga of Love. I think there's a book we have back there called the Yoga of Love. So yoga means to connect, and it connects us with the Supreme. That's what Bhakti does. It connects us with the Supreme. So now we have something in common. I have something in common with you, and you, and you. We all have something in common. Does anybody know what that is? Yeah.
We're all human.
Okay, yeah, we're all human. Are you sure? Are you sure?
For the most part, right? In this material form of the sense, yeah. We're all human.
Okay, we're all human, yeah.
Taste for Krishna.
What? Taste for Krishna. Okay, good.
Service attitude.
Service attitude, yes.
We're all parts of the Supreme.
Yeah, these are all great answers.
We all want happiness.
We all want happiness. That's where I was going, right? So we all, even though those were all good answers, that was correct. But we all are searching for happiness, for love, for satisfaction, right? So every person, no matter what their background is looking for joy. They're looking for meaningful relationships. They're looking for peace. This is what, I don't know anybody that says, you know what I would really like is if it was just complete and utter chaos around me all the time, right? You might say that, but then if it actually happened, it would be pretty terrible. So another thing we have in common is that we all have the propensity to serve. So the husband serves the wife serves the husband, hopefully anyway. The parents serve the child, and the child serves the parents, although sometimes, from what I hear from parents, it's not always the case. Friends serve friends, right? And the employee serves the boss. Many people, they serve their dog or their pet or their fish or their iguana, whatever pet you might have. People are serving their country. People are serving the poor. People are serving the sick. And in this way, we are always serving someone or something. So there is one problem with this, though. We're serving in all these different capacities, but ultimately it's just not satisfying, right? Sure, we might be satisfied for some time. We might be partially satisfied for a long time. But we're never completely satisfied, right? When's the last time you were completely satisfied? And I'm not talking about devotional service here, because I know some of you are really great devotees, and so that is satisfying. But when's the last time you were completely satisfied with anything? There's always room for improvement, right? This is evidenced by our divorce rates. We see this in our divorce rates, right? We see this with the estrangement of parents and children, right? We see this of parents even being disappointed because their children chose a path that they didn't approve of, right? That happens a lot, Mom wants you to be a doctor or a lawyer, and you say, no, I want to be an artist, right? It's the most common one that we hear. We hear this in people complaining about their job. I think that's pretty universal. I've not really heard very many people saying, oh, yes, I can't wait to get to work and, answer the phone all day or, work on the line all day, whatever it is your job is, And even if you are satisfied with your job somewhat, still, there's always room for improvement, right? And we can also see this when we're upset because our dog chewed our favorite pair of shoes. That's happened to me. We can see this basically, even if your pet or your child or your spouse is like a complete angel, which is I mean, if you have a spouse or a pet that's a complete angel, please let me know. I want to meet them. So one day they're actually going to pass away. And so, yeah, it's going to be hard. But there is a secret. So, yeah, don't tell anyone, Vanessa. Okay, so there is a secret. That happiness that we want, that satisfaction, that love that we're looking for is not found outside of us, right? It's found in reviving a relationship that we already have, and that we've already had for eternity. And that's because we're actually meant to serve God, Krishna, right? So this is what our original and our natural position is. And that's the original position of every living entity. So this is what even people that say, I don't believe in God, it is still their original and natural position to be a servant of God. Krishna doesn't care if you don't believe, right? He's still there. I mean, he cares because he wants you to come back home, but he's still there. So when we revive this knowledge and this relationship that we have with Krishna, then we can be truly happy and satisfied. And we are eternal spirit souls that are full of knowledge and bliss. I mean, imagine that, being full of knowledge and bliss. I mean, wonderful. So this is confirmed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam tells us that the supreme occupation or dharma for all of humanity is that by which men can attain to loving devotional service unto the transcendent Lord. Such devotional service must be unmotivated and uninterrupted to completely satisfy the self. So, I mean, completely satisfy the self, right? By doing devotional service. That's fulfilling our dharma. That's what we're here to do, right? So what exactly is devotional service? Who wants to tell me? Anyone? Go ahead.
Unmotivated and uninterrupted, loving service to God.
Are you cheating because I just told you the answer? All right, so Srila Prabhupada tells us that devotional service means engaging everything for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He also says that this Krishna consciousness or bhakti, devotional service, means to develop attachment for Krishna, and in the same proportion develop detachment from material sense gratification. So actually attachment to Krishna automatically comes with that detachment from material things. So an example of this is when people first see that we're monks and we're living here in this temple, sometimes they think that like we're being held prisoner here. Yeah. And frequently they ask this question, and I personally have been asked this question 4 separate times, and it just makes me laugh. They say, can you go to a movie if you want? Right? And so I always laugh at this because I mean we're not prisoners. We do have free will. And then I tell them, of course I can go to a movie. I'm not a hostage, but do I want to go to a movie? Probably not. Now, unless it's a movie about Krishna or God, like the Maha Avatar movie that was just playing like a few weeks ago, that was great. I went and saw that twice. So, but really, I don't have the desire to go to a regular movie of any kind anymore. And that's because I've developed some small attachment to Krishna. Now, if you want to talk to anybody who's practicing bhakti for a little while, I'm sure they can tell you something similar that's happened to them, right? Something that they were interested in before, that they used to enjoy doing, but it's no longer appealing because they have found something better, right? They've developed a higher taste by cultivating this attachment to Krishna. And they found that they like it better. And so they're no longer interested in that. So whether it be movies or going out to the nightclub, whatever it is. So, I mean, almost every devotee I know has something like that. So devotional service means that you're doing things to please Krishna. And instead of just pleasing ourselves, you're taking Krishna's, what he wants into account. And so you'll find that something funny happens when we do this. When we actually end up pleasing Krishna, we end up pleasing ourselves too. And that's because Krishna is the root of everything. And so it's just like a tree. We use this analogy a lot. It's just like a tree. Krishna is the root. We're the branches and the leaves, right? And so if we water that root, naturally the leaves and the branches are automatically nourished. So it's the same for us. So how do we water that root that is Krishna? So there's actually 9 processes of devotional service. The first one is hearing. So that's hearing about Krishna, like we're hearing now, right? Like we hear every week, we sit here and we hear about Krishna. That also means reading the literature, right? That's hearing about Krishna as well. Then there's chanting. So that's chanting like what we just did. That beautiful chanting led by Kirtan Yagya Prabhu. Beautiful. And also what we'll do after this class too, we'll do some more chanting. But that's also talking about Krishna, right? So that's also chanting. So telling your friends about Krishna, sharing your favorite pastimes. So that's chanting. Then remembering. That's pretty self-explanatory, right? We're remembering. And then serving the lotus feet of the Lord, worshiping the Lord, offering prayers to the Lord, being a servant to the Lord, developing friendship with the Lord. There's a great concept, right? We can be friends with God. I mean, how amazing is that? You know, and actually Krishna's our best friend. I mean, I think of my old best friend, and I don't think she'd believe that you could be friends with God, but you can. And then finally, surrendering your whole self. So of these 9 processes, we can start with hearing and chanting. So this allows you to get to know Krishna, because how can you love somebody that you don't know, right? So that's why it's so important that we hear and we chant about Krishna. So this will naturally help you to remember Krishna, right? If you're hearing about him, you're chanting about him, of course you're going to remember him. And that's going to help you develop your relationship with Krishna. Also, offering prayers to Krishna, because how can you have a relationship if you're not communicating, right? Yeah. I mean, you can try, but it doesn't really work out so well. So if you can do these things, this is going to start you off on the path of devotional service. So the Bhagavad Gita has a chapter called The Most Confidential Knowledge. And this is chapter 9. So this most confidential knowledge can be broken down into a few main points. The first one is that Krishna is supreme. So Krishna says, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. So that's Krishna telling us he's God. So he's supreme. The second point is that devotional service will free us from bondage. So Krishna tells us, if one offers me with love and devotion a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it. Whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer or give away, whatever austerities you perform, do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me. In this way, you will be freed from bondage to work and its auspicious and inauspicious results. That means your good and your bad karma, right? With your mind fixed on me, in this principle of renunciation, you will be liberated and come to me. So Krishna is telling us, one, he's telling us how to worship, how to do an offering for him, right? Give him a leaf, a fruit, a flower, and he'll accept it. And then he's also telling us that if we do that, we'll be freed from our bad and our good karma, and we'll come back to him. So it's not about what we offer. It's about the love from which we offer it. Because Krishna, he has everything. He doesn't need, our apples or our flowers, right? But what he doesn't have is our love, right? And so there's a really great story that illustrates this point. And it's the story of the Sudama the Brahmin. So Sudama and Krishna, they were in school together. They were classmates, and they were friends. And as they grew older, Sudama, he ended up being a very poor Brahmana. He was very poor, but he was full of devotion. But he was so poor, he was getting very thin. I mean, very, very thin. And his wife, she was concerned because he was getting so thin. She was worried about him. And so one day she said, why don't you go see Krishna? Why don't you go see Krishna? He's your friend. Perhaps he will help us. So Sudama, he was going to go because of the urging of his wife. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gone. He doesn't want to ask for anything for himself, right? So he didn't want to go to see his old friend empty-handed. That's very poor manners, right? But remember, he's very poor, so he's trying to scrounge up, a gift, some kind of offering he can bring to Krishna. So he scrounges around and he brings up a handful of chipped rice. That's all he could find, just a handful of chipped rice. And so when he arrived at Krishna's house, he was very embarrassed by his modest offering. So he tried to hide it. And Krishna, he embraced him just like an old friend. He embraced him. He sat him down, and Krishna sat him down in his own seat, in Krishna's seat, like the seat of the head of the household. And he washed his feet. And then that water that he washed his feet with, he put on his head. I mean, this is God himself washing. Could you imagine God himself washing your feet and then putting that water on his head? And then the Queen Rukmini started fanning him, right? And after a little bit, Krishna said, well, what did you bring for me? He knew he had brought him something. And Sudama, he was still very embarrassed about the chipped rice. And Krishna found it, though. He found it, of course. And so Krishna, he ate just a little bit of that chipped rice. And he was so happy. He was so pleased. He was just relishing it. And he was completely satisfied with this, Krishna was. And so Sudama, that day, they had a nice visit. And he never did ask Krishna for, to help him out. He didn't ask. And he left. And so when Sudama got home, he actually saw that his little hut that he lived in had turned into this great palace. And his wife, he almost didn't recognize this beautiful lady comes walking over to him. It was his wife. And she was wearing such beautiful, fine dresses. And this was because Krishna, he felt the love that Sudama had for him. He had felt the love in that offering. And he reciprocated with him. And he helped Sudama more than he even needed. And that's because of that love, right? That's what the one thing Krishna doesn't have. So it isn't about what we're offering, but that we're doing it with love. So that is how we show love. That's why we give him fruits and flowers, things like that, because it shows, hey, I'm thinking about you. I love you. I want to express this. Okay, so the third point from chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita is that this process is available to everyone. So Krishna says, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, can attain the supreme destination. How much more this is so of the righteous brahmanas, the devotees, and the saintly kings. Therefore, having come to this temporary miserable world, engage in loving service unto me. Engage your mind always in thinking of me. become my devotee, offer my obeisances to me, and worship me, being completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. So there Krishna is promising us that we will come to him if we follow this. And he's also telling us that it doesn't matter if you have no education, or you have too much education, or you're poor, or you're incredibly wealthy. It doesn't matter what your status is, you can still do this process. Okay, so how do I surrender to Krishna then? So we need to practice. We need to practice this. We've been in this material world for billions and billions of lifetimes, and it's hard to break free from Maya, from illusion. So we need to spend our time developing this quality of surrender. If we take one step towards Krishna, he will take 1,000 steps towards us. So if we just show our honest desire to get to know Krishna, he will help us. He will show us how to come to him. Krishna says, to those who are constantly devoted and serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. Always think of me. Become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this, because you are my very dear friend. Krishna is the best friend of all of us. And he says we are his very dear friend. Now, how do I become engaged in that devotional service? So Krishna again tells us, just try to learn the truth. By approaching a spiritual master, inquire from him submissively and render service unto him. The self-realized souls can impart knowledge unto you because they have seen the truth. So we need to approach a teacher that has already gone through this process, and they can guide us because they've seen the truth. They've done it. They've done it. And so what is the result? So Srila Prabhupada says, by practicing Bhagavad Bhakti Yoga, one can become fearless and joyful. Unless one becomes fearless and joyful, he cannot understand the science of God. So just briefly, I'll tell you one more story. It's a story I also told on Thursday in the Krishna Cove, so I'm just going to tell it very briefly. But there was once a young prince named Dhruva, and he wanted a kingdom that was greater than his fathers and his grandfathers and his great-grandfathers. But the problem with that is that his great-grandfather was Lord Brahma. He made the universe, right? So that meant he wanted a kingdom greater than the universe. So it's not any small ask, right? And so he actually worshipped Krishna with meditation, doing so many austerities. I mean, really far out austerities that I could never do. I mean, like, what was it? Taking a breath every 12 days, I think was one. That's one of them? I mean, can you do that, Vanessa?
Sure.
Okay, you need to try.
12 seconds.
So yeah, he did these amazing austerities, all the while he's meditating on the Lord within his heart. And then at one moment, he's meditating on the Lord within his heart. He's seeing him. He's looking at him in his meditation. And suddenly the Lord disappears from his meditation. And Dhruva, he's a little distraught by this. The Lord had disappeared. So he stops. He opens his eyes. And there's the Lord standing there right in front of him, in person, standing there right in front of him. And Dhruva, he's a little dumbfounded. He can't really make any words come out. And so the Lord very kindly, he's holding a conch shell, and he kind of just bonks him on the head with the conch shell. And then suddenly he's able to say all these beautiful prayers. And one of the main things that he says is that I came searching for pieces of broken glass, but I have found a priceless jewel. And so that sentiment was, what his original motive was to get that universe, that kingdom greater than the universe. He wanted power, he wanted prestige. When he saw the Lord face to face, that desire vanished because of the real love that he felt for the Lord. He discovered what his soul truly longed for all along, right? And so this is what happens when we begin to practice bhakti. gradually our worldly desires and cravings quiet down, and we start to feel peaceful, joyful. We feel like we're truly at home, right? Because even though we're in this world, we start to feel like we're truly at home, because that's where we are truly at home, is with God, with Krishna. All right, so to summarize, we're all searching for love, satisfaction, and happiness, right? Bhakti is the soul's natural activity. This is what we were born to do, this loving service to Krishna. And it's accessible to everyone. Everyone. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what your status is. Anybody can do this. And it is powerful and it is joyful. So by chanting, by associating with other people trying to do the same thing, by tasting the prasadam that we'll have after arti, by doing these things, anyone can begin their path of bhakti right now. So it's not some burden. It's actually like coming home, right? So a return to this relationship that we were always meant to have. And this is what true satisfaction is. All right, so let's start this path of bhakti right now by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. All right, we have about like a minute left if there's any comments or questions. Yes?
I just had an announcement. Any of the men who left a pair of sunglasses.
All right, very nice. All right, any other comments, questions, announcements?
A question?
Yeah.
Thank you for this class. Is it, if we're struggling, is it okay to ask Krishna for money?
For money? Well, I mean, it's more pious than doing other things to get that money. But I mean, it's definitely not like pure, devotional service. Kind of like, if your friend only comes around when they need help with something, that would be kind of a bummer. Then you'd realize, hey, this person probably isn't my friend, really. But I mean, it is certainly better than going to other sources, because Krishna is the source of everything. So there you have it. Yes.
A comment on that. For the past month, I'd say now, I've been devoting myself more and more daily to the study of Lord Krishna himself and the love of him. And the more I focus on that and Krishna himself, the more he's poured abundance into my life. It's
Yeah.
gotten to a point now where I want for nothing and need for nothing because everything's there. And I have an abundance, so now that I'm able to give back to the community of people who need it around me. And on a daily basis, I'm at the bus stops just spreading the love and the joy. And anytime anybody, I don't like go out of my way to give it, but if somebody asks, by all means, if I have it, then it's theirs, So sometimes it's food, because I work at Beyond Bread Nutrition, of course, so I'll get my employee meals, and I'll be sitting at the bus stop and I'm like, here, I'm 5 minutes away from home, like I could cook myself something, you could have this sandwich and chips and stuff,
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's like, here's a little bit of money, or here's a drink or two, like go be safe, go have fun, like. And then I mentioned to them Salvation Army as well, like the one on 1002 North Main Avenue. When I was homeless, that was the place that helped me get my life back together, So I just try to give them the resources that I've used to better my life,
Yeah,
I'm a
paying
living
that
example
forward.
of you could literally go from the worst moments in your life and have absolutely nothing. Lord could take it all away because you're being selfish and arrogant and just not seeing this path, and then he could give it all back to you in one moment, one heartbeat, It's all a choice in your mind to just want to give it to him and submit to him,
Yeah, that's so true. That's very beautiful. I also have had that experience where once I really surrendered as best as I could to Krishna, which it's a process. I'm still in the process of doing it. But I also find that I have not wanted for anything. So, yeah. All right. Thank you very much.